So here at the SociallyU studio, after every shoot, we sit around in the control room and we talk about what went good, what went bad, and what we could do better in the future. And we realized that we should probably record these things so we can actually remember what we said. And then we realized that this could possibly be good content for the people who view our channel. So come along with us as we learn, grow, and fail, and maybe you can learn something as we learn too. Welcome to the Debrief.
On our last shoot, we had the Colson educators come in. It was one person on camera. We had Dr. Bill Brown. Jay, could you pull that up really quick? So I really love the way this looked. We've used this set a few times, and each time it keeps getting better and better. So we're going to talk about what went well and what we can do better next time. So I'm going to open the floor to one of our biggest issues that we had, which was keying gray hair. So Andre is going to take that away.
Well, let me tell you about gray hair on bright backgrounds. That stunk. So I think we ended up with one of the best keys we've had so far. Like I love the way it looks. I mean, look at that. Just all those hairs. Go ahead and pause it, Jay, just so we can kind of just admire that. Look at all those stray runaway hairs. Can you zoom it in? I mean, this was a very difficult key. Remember, our keys are done in real time. We're using the Blackmagic Ultimate. So that's a real-time key. That's not doing any post-processing. But, man, that was a lot. And so the reason that was a lot, though, for me, I think it all came down to luminance levels of the background. So we want this light shining in on him. So, and I think we did a great job of that. We warmed up the light around him. But what was happening was the background itself, as you can see, also has these spills of light on the background. And so, yeah, thanks. And so what happened was, and the picture we had behind him before was grayish white. So it was pretty bright. So I don't have a great visual for this, but essentially think of it like this. Here's what I'm figuring out is happening. If this is a strand of hair, and then on either side of that strand of hair is green. So, I mean, it's doing a really good job of keying out that hair, but there's always just kind of like a small outline of green. And so no matter what it's doing, or gray, maybe it's not green color, but when that white hair is on a white background, any outline, so imagine me like drawing a marker around my finger, which is the hair, that accentuates it and it kind of gets real noisy. So can you pause it on that tight shot, side shot, I mean? And so what happened was you can see, yeah, there. Yep, actually where you were just a little bit, getting more in that bright part of the light, and then zoom in. What I'm looking at is right under his ear, right there, just pause. So what I'm realizing is that brightness level, but go down under his ear, or right there. That's fine. Yeah, yep, where you've done it. So see how it's turning actually a weird dark gray color, and hit play for a second, and we'll just kind of watch it. But it's gonna dance. I mean, it's subtle. You may have to rewind it to do it again. But see that flickering sparkly that it's doing? That's it trying to remove that dark color. And so that was happening a lot around his head, and it was very fake looking. So see how fake his hair looked? And now look how awesome his hair looks when he moves it back. This is actually a great example.
You can look on the opposite sides of his head. The hairs that aren't in the light look amazing.
Right. Yeah.
Here's the difficult point as soon as you get to this. And then over here where it's
see how that looks perfect. I mean, like I could not even tell that's a key. So play it just a little so his head moves backwards now into the darkness. And then as soon as, and now his hair looks great. Everything looks awesome. So these luminance values right there are too bright for us to get a good key. So this could be a limitation of my skills or knowledge on chroma keying, or it could be a limitation of chroma keying itself. I'm not sure. But the summary is this brightness level is not good. And so this is a great example of on the left, it looks great. On the right, it's no bueno. Now, zoom back out. When this pops in for a second or two and pops out, I'm not feeling it too bad. Go ahead and hit play. Because he's kind of leaning forward. And then he's popping right back. And I don't know that it's, it's only we were going back and forth over a second, So I think it's okay. And it's allowed. But the summary is we have to be very cognizant of our luminance levels of brightness on our backgrounds because it makes a drastic difference. So once I put that dark painting behind him, that framed it out. And then you can see those black boxes on the right.
Ready to bring that up.
We probably would have done a little more effort on that based on timing, but that worked to then have those side shots, have that behind him to just kind of darken up what was around it, because they were like a light tan color. So that was a lot of setting tweaking on the Ultimatte. It took almost 2 hours from the time he sat down to us getting going to really dial that in and get it just right. So that was the Chroma key, and that's our experience. So what we really just have to be very aware of is if they're going to have little hairs sticking out, we need to be very careful about what the luminance level is of the background. And, Morgan, what we probably need to do in Unreal is figure out what are those threshold levels, so that we're just kind of designing our sets to take those in mind.
That wasn't the only pain point either. One of the other pain points was the way we're able to have it look like he's in that actual setting so well is because we're figuring out how to shoot with a keyed side and a shadow side. And on that shadow side, when it comes to gray hair, if you don't give it a hair light and you don't express that side with a little bit of light, then the gray hair actually reflects the green a lot, and the side of his head becomes see-through.
Invisible. Yeah.
So we also had to figure out how to give him a key on his shadow side without deleting the shadow part of that side of his face.
Right, because we keep seeing all this chroma key, and they're just so evenly lit. And it's like, there's no depth at all on this. Mm-hmm. And it's like, why? Well, now we understand, because the way I'm saying it is if there is no light lighting them, touching their body, then there is a light, and it's the green. It's the background that's green that has lights on it. So there is a light, and it's a green light.
Yep.
So if we don't shine a light, that means there's a green light on them. And for certain skin tones and whatever, it's fine. But if they're reflecting any of that green at all, so
the dark side is dark, but it's dark in comparison to the light side,
right?
It's not totally dark,
right? Right. So even just, I guess, Jay, what you ended up doing is kind of just rimming out his shoulder, and it's just barely splashing light on his face.
Yeah.
You can see a little bit on his neck, on that side, on the back of his neck, underneath his ear. So there's a little bit of light hitting there, but it's just not much. And that was just enough to just overpower the green, because it doesn't take much, because it's already shadow.
Yep. And the difficult part was getting that. And then I guess the key term here would be feathering. So we feathered the light onto him and used a barn door on our hive lights, which kept the light off of his face and more on the front of his neck area. You can see, like right in here, there's just a little bit of light falling, but it feels natural because it's falling on the shoulders. It feels like the light from the window is hitting him this way and sort of spilling over both sides while still keeping the shadow there, which is pretty crucial to keep it looking cinematic and the way we want it to, instead of it looking, my favorite term, derpy.
So one thing that we ran into was the client's delivery starting out, which Jay and Tyler did a great job at going in and helping coach him with his delivery and not stopping. So Tyler, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so what's amazing is this guy has spoken in front of thousands of people for years and years and years. He's been a college president, 2 different universities. So he knows how to speak in public. And so I think Jay and I, what we talked about with him, when we got him to the point where he was like, speak as if you were speaking to a live audience. And I think that just unlocked him, because I kind of feel like, well, he was stopping and starting and we need to stop and go over again, go back again. But man, I think, Andre, you talked about, you don't stop. You just can't stop. Just keep going. Now, there was some times when he would run into a technical issue that would kind of, he was trying to operate this clicker thing that kind of made him but man, he recovered, and because of that, you just got to keep going. Just keep going.
Yeah, and so this was a presentation more than it was reading from a teleprompter. So I'm sure if you listen to this and listen to our debriefs as we continue in the future, we're probably going to gripe and complain about teleprompters because it's one of our least favorite things. It's a love-hate relationship. So this was him presenting, and he was dealing with the fact, like, and he came in talking to us about, hey, I may push through on some mess ups and some blips here and there if I sort of flub a word here and mess up a word there. But I think once he got in front of the cameras, it is a very unsettling and unnatural feeling state. So what he wanted to do was deliver that perfect content every single time. And in the end, what that really makes you do is seem a little bit more robotic and not as genuine. So when you can push through some of those flubs and some of those word mishaps, it feels natural. Nobody really notices. It's just as if he's sitting there in front of you
Or
speaking.
genuine.
Yeah, genuine's a great word, Tyler. Yeah, for sure. It makes it feel like I'm human too. I'm not here absolutely delivering this expert content, even though he is. It feels more like a human is actually speaking to you instead of you're sitting down watching a course that was designed for you.
Well, and one of the things we figured out is that we had several different monitors there, and we were showing him his slide and his presenter view, and he was having to figure out
iPad.
And his iPad.
Yep.
And so it was all just, he couldn't figure out where to look. And once we kind of figured out, he just needs the slide he's talking about on the prompter, and then below it we had a monitor with the next view, the presenter, whatever we call it, the next slide up. And so he said, but he wasn't even looking at that. He would see it in his peripheral vision.
He could prepare.
And he could mentally prepare, okay, I know what's coming up. That changed it, because that mechanical problem. So what we have to do is we have to think about, what is he seeing? Because it's different for every client, Jay, because some guys don't care, oh yeah, they can adapt to anything, but we have to maybe figure out what arrangement of monitors and data that we're showing him. He didn't need to see a timer. He didn't care. He just wanted to know what that next slide was, and that just kind of freed him up.
Yeah, for
away
sure.
all those distractions.
What's funny is those monitors are called confidence monitors, and as soon as you use too many confidence monitors and you start to overload somebody, they lose confidence. So it was really dialing in exactly what he needed. You were right, Tyler, when you said some people can just kind of like go ahead and use any, like, it doesn't matter what's in front of them.
Different for everybody.
But I tell you what, I've sat in there before and had like 4 to 5 cameras in front of me when I tried to do a live stream one time from the studio, and my brain absolutely broke. So overloading is a real thing, especially when somebody is used to delivering to people and only having a giant projector with what they're doing.
And the goal is to get that person where they can just focus on what they're trying to say. And we talked to them about, hey, listen, if there's a word on the screen that we should move or change the color, whatever, just so they can just focus on their content, and that's all they have to think about.
So one thing that Jay said the other day, I think he was talking to me and Chris, he said that you and him talked to Bill, and whatever you said, like, really got to him, because Jay was saying something, but then you said something, and he really got it. And that's when he really picked up.
Oh, what was
delivery.
that? Because y'all gassed me up like I was a genius, and I had to give Tyler credit.
I don't remember. Don't remember what it
So,
was.
so what do you
I can't-
typically say to?
I'll say to people, I want him to think about, and Jay and I maybe we differ on this view, but I want him to think about, who is he talking to, because he has this passion for these people, and this guy works with people talking about these issues all the time. So who is that person you're trying to reach in there? Who's your audience? That's the eternal question, right? Who's the audience? And I want him visualizing who that is, because this is a little bit different setting from the pitch video, where you've got to be just like super aggressive and, and so I don't know if that helped him to think, because when there's a piece of glass there, you can forget and get focused on yourself rather than focusing on who's going to be watching this someday. I think that was helpful to him. That plus present as if you were before a live audience.
What's funny is I don't think we differ on that at all. I think it's situational. So
Yeah.
like when you tell, some people are like him, he's presenting. So like he's delivering content that he's an expert on, and he's trying to drive a point home by teaching a lesson. Now other people are reading scripts. So when you tell somebody to think about the person behind the camera, they're going to just talk like they're talking to a person, when in reality we need them to be more animated and speak so that the video isn't like insanely boring.
And he already has a persona.
Yep.
He's acted enough in terms of presenting in front of audiences and stuff, that he kind of knows who he is and how he's supposed to gesture. Man, he had these great hand gestures, and I was always trying to capture those when he would, move things around on the desk and do this and stuff. So
You were about to say something.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, one of the things was like talking about how to control slides, right? Because when you were talking to Tyler about the technical issues, we determined that was the remote, right?
Right.
The perfect cue kind of remote.
Shout out.
Trying to find where it was, right?
Yep.
So once we figured out that was part of the problem, and then getting rid of the iPad, because originally we were going to use the iPad to control. You'd brought up a foot pedal, which might be something we look at.
Yeah, we need to test that out.
So
Yeah, I think I can show this.
yeah,
You want to cut to me. This is the perfect cue. So please sponsor us. Actually, apparently their customer service is amazing. So I think what you were talking about was I don't know, I have this clip thing on my hand here because I'm ADD. So you click this button here, this green one, to go on to the next slide, and then you click this red one. And what I think he was doing was he was speaking to the camera like this and trying to do slides without looking down at the thing. So what he was doing was he was accidentally clicking the laser pointer button thinking that he was going to get a response.
Yeah.
When in reality, we want to save our cameras, so we took that function completely out anyway. So it's just a dead button.
So that was causing him to kind of slow up
Yep.
and not be
yeah,
confident.
and anything like that, it kind of just derails their thought process.
Yeah.
It cuts into that flow.
Are you somebody else controlling?
I was me.
Okay.
I
Just
was
making
gonna
sure the
say,
computer's
if
not
you,
done.
If you look at that was me. I was jumping into your computer. So if you show the computer, there was a trade-off though, which is we see
Yep.
we see it, right?
And
So
that's
I
where
was
the
trying
foot pedal
yeah.
idea
right.
maybe-
So it is kind of breaking a little bit because it's like, oh, well, there it is in his hand,
Oh, and he would have to look down and pick it up.
right.
And I tried to cut away from that to not get that as much, because he would put it down to do some hand gestures, and then he would have to look down to pick the thing up. So.
Right. Yeah.
Which go ahead.
No, it's big. It's big too.
Yeah. Which, like, I think we're looking at it as a film studio, right? So we want it to be perfect because that's the quality that we deliver. And sometimes breaking that wall hurts our brains more than it will other people,
that's true.
I think. So it's just like, in the end, like if I see somebody with a remote and I'm seeing slides come up on the screen, I'm like, oh, he's presenting something. But for us, we're like, nope, we want to deliver the best product possible, and we want to, the details matter for us.
Well, part of my concern is we didn't record the slides, so I'm curious how their editor is going to know what slide is what. I was thinking about that too, of like, at least with the clicker, they have some sort of visual reference kind of.
Yeah, sure. And for people watching, if you come here and you bring slides, we'll cut to those in live time. So what you see here is there's a layer on top of, so we're using Final Cut Pro. There's a layer on top, and we do have a really cool system to where we can mark things that we need to cut out and mark places that we pick up and stuff. But the bottom layer is a live edited, live cut feed. So that top layer is really just me using a side shot to be able to smooth out some edits and make it feel a lot more natural. So we can live cut to things that you bring here. But in this particular situation, Dr. Brown brought slides that the Colson Center wanted to actually take and brand themselves since it was their content. So, and they didn't bring that with them.
Right.
So they will be doing that in post. But if you're watching and being like, oh, you could cut to it, we typically do. That would be what we normally do, is cut to it while somebody's speaking about a subject.
And if we did that, we'd probably have an iPad flat and even
Yep.
an overhead
An overhead shot.
Yeah.
where he could kind of be looking down at it and touching it. But the
In-
slides were not in a state where they would be a final product.
Right, yeah.
Right.
In fact, when they walked in, the moment we heard slides, you looked at me and you were like, let's get an overhead shot. And I was walking in there before Blake like grabbed my shoulder and was like, okay, hold on. I need to explain this situation to you.
Not ready.
Yeah.
Well, and we've done that before with people, and they'll have a slide deck, and there'll be some slides that they want to show and some that they don't. And he had the ones designated that he wants to show in the final thing with a symbol on there. But you were saying, Andre, that it's better to actually do it the opposite. Designate the slides that aren't supposed to show And then we know, like if we were showing them, like we were burning them in, we would know, show this one, but do not show this one. It's just for his notes.
Right, because if he has something on the slide that he wants to show, then it's on the slide, so we don't want to have that, right?
Yeah. And we've done that successfully with other people. Like you'll give it a certain shade or something. The slide will have a slight purple color or whatever. We know, well, don't show that one.
We've used this set a few times, and I think this is the probably best that we've gotten at looking.
100%.
Yeah.
Lighting-wise, set-wise, I mean, it looks really good. So, Morgan, how was your Unreal adventure for this one?
Yeah, I think we've really worked a lot with this set between all the different Mark Pimsler and the different clients that we've used this with. And even though it's a remastered set, we've definitely made it more optimized and seems to work really well. I have noticed after about a week of running the set that the Unreal computers got a little cranky and crashed morning of the shoot. But besides that, it worked out. We were able to recover.
It's only right.
But yeah, we're still learning how to change out paintings. I feel like that's a big thing that we're still learning. And then the bright background, figuring out.
Yeah, you're the Unreal person. Like, you know a lot more than me. I'm a lot less technical than you on that. But I will say, when it comes to environments, not saying we can't, because we've shot we've shoot 4 people on this set before, and there is a vast difference in shooting 4 people between shooting 1, as there is on any set.
Right.
But and specifically in an Unreal environment, when you back out and your subjects are a lot smaller, it is hard to really get that scale proper, and things begin to look video gamey.
Right.
But as soon as you can bring that in. And I think the main thing is when you have 4 people on set, everything's in focus.
Right.
Right. So the key for us is when you can zoom in and kind of put somebody cut to this. So if you're cutting to him, we can match our camera focus and adjust the blur on I'm trying not to make him look weird by being on a weird pause here, but we can blur the background to match how the blur would actually be, the bokeh would actually be behind him in our camera.
And then the only thing we had differently on this one compared to our previous one was we weren't able to get a moving shot to look right, mainly because on this set, the windows were just giving us a really hard time with that key with the gray hair. So that's something we'd want to definitely figure out and be able to keep having our moving shots. I think we tried switching to the other side, but the wall was too blank or something like that.
Yeah.
Was that the issue, I think?
Yeah. Yep. So. And I won't let you go without receiving some credit for a shoot that we had beginning of the week for the same clients, which I guess I could bring up Ian's library here while we're still talking, and we could talk about that, because you deserve a lot of credit. I mean, you did algebra.
To figure out the
and
moving.
You said it was algebra, like you did math to figure out
algebra.
Yeah. To figure out how to get a moving shot. And I think Andre was
amazing.
I don't think Andre stopped talking about it for at least 45 minutes after we finally got it dialed in, because that's something that we've been battling and trying. That's the biggest part of reason of having the trackers. Not only is to be able to move within that 3D space and align something, which we're still working on as well. Nothing's cut and dry, but being able to have that moving shot really sells the cinematic value that we bring as a studio and as a collective group.
Right.
So
and I think we changed the contrast on this a little bit too to make it darker.
We did.
That helped a lot,
which is great. Yeah.
Well, the only reason we didn't have a moving shot on this one was because of those light areas and his white hair.
Yeah,
that's right.
Otherwise, it was beautiful.
Yeah, it was really great.
Steady
I know.
movement,
I know.
Smooth.
Yeah.
So, like Jay was saying, we also had a different client come in earlier this week. Would you be able to pull up Ian?
Yeah, I'll open that.
So
library.
we filmed from Monday to Thursday, back-to-back filming with 2 different sets. So we did a little experiment and we split the sets. So we did 2 different sets on the same stage. So our experience, it was an experiment, but what would you say the overall experience was like?
It was, in this setting, it took a pretty good amount of time. I think it took about the same amount of time to switch over to the other set and relight that as it would have to just strike the first set and reset in that same space. But I think it could be done. I think if you have it set up the right way, it's possible. We just haven't perfected that yet. I think the only reason you do a double set is if you've got back-to-back shoots where it's going to be a really hard, to reset quickly. I think in the future it might be better to have, especially because both of these sets were almost the same lighting or very similar,
Right.
Angles and everything.
Which we did not know.
Right. Because at the time it was not that.
Yeah.
This set was built, even though it was the one we filmed first, it was built last.
Yeah.
Right.
I think part of running a studio is not only making things look awesome, but is also running a profitable business. So scaling is really important. And if it's like, man, we have to have so much time between all of these different shoots that we're doing, we're not really being able to maximize the amount of people that we're allowed to have in our space within a certain given amount of time, which kind of doesn't let us do as much as we want to. So being able to split the set and have two people come in, one group of people on one day, the next group of people on the other, and still delivering an awesome piece of content is great. Here's the moving shot that that we were talking about. So, which also awesome
So
custom
pretty.
built, awesome custom
Yeah.
built background by Morgan, Andre. You guys worked on that. It looked really cool.
It's gorgeous.
All that work for that 4 second
4 seconds.
It
shot.
looks like the golden hour at twilight, like he's on the California coast.
Yeah, we just to be nitpicky about this set, the one thing we couldn't get to though is getting that blue sky.
the
Wish we had just
HDRI.
that HDRI. We are like, we do not know all the details of how to take that and warm that up a little bit. We tried quickly,
Awesome.
but it was failing, and we had to get the show
Which-
must go on kind
Which we want to make that a video, right?
Right.
That's
yes. Because
that's our
if I could have
ultimate
those
goal.
trees, or if it's all nanite, whatever, and Super Tree Land 5000, that'd be cool too. Where it's just, I'd love to see those trees move a little. Ultimately, I can't wait to have a slider where it's like, let's make it winter, let's make it fall. It's now sunset. That's the dream of where we're going. But this is where we are right now with that.
Yeah.
What you don't know is I disabled nanite in the scene to gain performance.
Nice.
So
There you go.
Well, and he has dark hair on a darkish background.
Yeah.
which made keying awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. That's a good thing to
Oh.
bring up too, is the contrast between the two gentlemen that were in
Yeah.
here at separate
But we
times.
did have, if you can just go back to the wide shot version,
Yeah.
it did have an outline around his shoulder.
Yeah, the marker outline.
It kind of
you
looked like
zoom that in?
it looked like there was a marker on his right shoulder, our left.
The comic
And
book outline.
So it had this dark outline. So you can see there we had to spill in some light on that side as well, which is a little like, if you think about where the light's coming from, we're always trying to figure out where the light's motivated from. That's not where the light is motivated from.
The laws of
However,
physics.
right. But we're also in a house, and there's some implication that there's some sort of light coming in from overhead a little bit. And so, I think it works, where I think it didn't break the illusion, but
I think that light on the wall above the bookshelf, to me, sells that there's windows up above
Right.
those
There must
windows.
be-
It's like that
right.
must be the most amazing glass wall there.
that's right. I think it's that. And then the little bar that there's like, I guess there's a door back there in the corner that's kind of going over the window on the right side.
Yeah.
So that kind of indicates, if they had to put in kind of a support cross beam there, then that must really go tall. I think those are two little elements that sell it. And then just by the way, it was funny. The client was like, hey, there's kind of a little green next to the cup on the floor, but that's actually just the wood floor. Like that's
Right in this area?
Into over by the handle. Right there. But that's just that's the floor.
Is it a
Yeah, we
reflection
broke
of
their
the green
brain.
plant back there, maybe?
No, I think
No,
it's
it's not.
just they had like a scanned floor, and some of it was
So
just
what I think you did was
discolored.
what he was looking at too was a feed of the Ultimate monitor on the screen. So you just click background.
Right. I just showed him background. I'm
Every-
like,
all the
actually, this
background
is
away.
exactly what the background actually looks like.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
cool. Something cool too about this set I thought was originally, if you had looked out this window, there's a pool and a gazebo like way off in the distance. So what Morgan did was brought the fence closer, cut the fence in half, and then added those bushes down and the plants on the left side, and then added that seating area too, right in this area.
Yeah.
So that was really, and I think, did you change it from
Yeah, the
cement
gravel.
to gravel?
Yeah.
That looks
Yeah.
great.
So that was really, because it was wood or something.
Yeah. It was
So
wood. And we changed out the brick that's directly behind his head.
Yep, and changed it to cement. Yeah, so
Yeah.
this originally was brick here, and yeah, that looked really weird. So that's cool, the way you were able to customize and and do that. We need to time lapse that kind of stuff in the future. But that's us.
And going back to the content thing, he also was not reading from a script.
Yep.
He was just talking from notes, and that makes it just so much better.
Yes.
Yeah, and if I'm correct, he's a lawyer by profession, so speaking is one of his strong points. That was really awesome having him not reading and letting his actual skill set flourish. And luckily he came in doing that, but I think maybe we would have tried to coach him in that direction too if he was trying to read from a teleprompter just like this, and it would have sounded, just not as genuine and not as
And
awesome.
first he was like, he felt like he had to keep his hands in one place, and he was just this wooden delivery.
No.
And we were like, oh man, you can gesture. I don't know where people get the idea that
I was
they
going
can't
to say,
move their hands. I'm not
so
sure
many
that-
people are like, oh, I didn't know I could move my hands.
Yeah, I was like, no.
So that's something we need to remember when we're coaching. Like, have you been on screen a lot? Like, hey, just a reminder, you can totally use your hands.
So, and then we joked with him, Jay, about it's what you were talking about. It depends on the audience, or the purpose of the video. We joked with him about the law firms, the
Johnson
the
and Johnson or
personal
Morgan and
injury
Morgan, or
attorney
something
law
like
firm
that.
commercials.
Yeah.
So we were constantly talking to just keep that energy of the the Morgan and Morgan or whoever. Have you been injured in an accident? And so he laughed about that, but I think that really made it where he knew what intensity level to bring to it.
Yep.
Well, that's a wrap on our powwow. Thanks for tuning in. It's riveting content as always. Anybody got anything to say?
Yes.
Cue theme music.
Bye.
Oh, yeah, right.
You guys. See you guys on the next one.